And so it came to be that the demon Hiranya was slain not in the day or night, but at dusk, not inside anywhere or outside, but at a threshold, not on land or in the air, but on the lap. Not by any weapon, but by my name. Prahlad, are you all right? Do you love your father despite everything? That's good. That's very good. Thank you very much.
as we look away from Krishna, the shadow is there, that is Maya.
Now, Krishna is
so in order to ensure spiritual progress and freedom from all kinds of bad habits, we need to keep our consciousness fixed towards Krishna. This is the whole meditation of Bhakti Yoga. To keep the senses always filled with Krishna conscious. Perceptions. So, how many of you would like to serve Krishna and keep your consciousness in this transcendental situation? Now, most people in the world don't know how important it is or how beneficial it is to have a spiritual orientation and to chant Hare Krishna. So, this side we have our doctor here. We have the doctor Anand Adiparusas and his good wife, who is also a doctor. Doctors can save lives by giving the proper medicine. Now, say that now we're reading in the newspapers, there's a lot of epidemics going on in Japan, in Bombay. People are dying because of food poisoning and different things. Say that there was such an epidemic going on, but you had the wonder cure that would cure all your friends, all your neighbors, all your country people who were being attacked by that epidemic. You had the medicine. What would you do? What would you do to be? You want to see that as many people as possible get the medicine, isn't it? Because every minute that we don't get that medicine to someone, somebody will be dying. So, the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada is something like that.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
and she also the Maya Nashiva Rani Harinama Mahamantra La Tumimani. I have brought the medicine for this material disease of repetition, of birth and death, of forgetfulness, of Kali Yuga.
நான் இந்த கலியுகத்தில் இருக்கும் மறதி, இறப்பு, பிறப்பு என்ற நோய்க்கான மருந்தை கொண்டு வந்திருக்கின்றேன்.
That is what Lord Chaitanya declared.
இதைத்தான் சைதன்ய மகாபிரபு உலகத்துக்கு எடுத்துக் கூறினார்.
Chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
ஹரே கிருஷ்ணா மகாமந்திரத்தை ஜெபியுங்கள்.
And give this mantra to others.
இந்த மந்திரத்தை பிறருக்கும் கொடுங்கள்.
And they can all be delivered.
அவ்வாறாக அனைவரும் இதிலிருந்த மாயையிலிருந்து விடுபடுவார்கள்.
So all you are very fortunate you've been given this wonder medicine.
ஆகிய நீங்கள் எல்லோரும் மிகவும் கொடுத்து வைத்தவர்கள். காரணம் இந்த அற்புதமான மருந்து உங்களுக்கு கிடைத்திருக்கின்றது.
Use it every day.
இதனை தினமும் பயன்படுத்துங்கள்.
And give it to as many others as you can.
அதனை பிறருக்கு எவ்வளவு பேருக்கு கொடுக்க முடியுமோ அவ்வளவு பேருக்கு கொடுக்க பாருங்கள்.
It's such an important thing. If a person were lazy or shy or spaced out or something and didn't give that medicine to anybody else, there would be a great tragedy.
ஸோ இவ்வளவு அற்புதமான மருந்தை ஒருவன் சோம்பேறித்தனத்தால் அல்லது நேரம் போகாததால் அல்லது வெட்கமாக இருப்பதால் பிறருக்கு கொடுக்காமல் போய்விட்டால் இது ஒரு பெரிய இழப்பாகும்.
If the person had the medicine and didn't take it himself, that would be sheer foolishness.
அந்த அற்புதமான மருந்தை அவன் வைத்துக் கொண்டு அவனே அதை சாப்பிடாவிட்டாலும் மிகவும் முட்டாள்தனமானதாகவும் ஆகும்.
So take this medicine, be perfected, and help others to also get perfected by giving them also the medicine of chanting Hare Krishna.
ஆகவே இந்த ஹரே கிருஷ்ணா ஜபம் செய்யும் மருந்தாகப்பட்டதை நீங்களும் எடுத்து உங்களை ஈடுபடுத்திக் கொள்ளுங்கள். பிறருக்கும் கொடுத்து அவர்களுக்கும் அந்த உதவியை செய்யுங்கள்.
So we're very enlightened by the enthusiasm of the devotees here in Kela Kirtan and the surrounding areas. We're very happy to hear that there are Namatra Bhakti branch or cell groups functioning in the surrounding area.
ஸோ இந்த திலகத்தாலிலும் இதை சுற்றி இருக்கும் வட்டத்தில் மக்களுடைய இந்த ஆர்வத்தை பார்த்து நான் மிகவும் உற்சாகம் அடைகிறேன், பெருமைப்படுகின்றேன். அதே சமயத்தில் நாமஹாரா அல்லது அது போன்ற செல் ப்ரோக்ராம் இந்த பிரச்சாரம் செய்யும் நிகழ்ச்சிகள் நிறைய நடப்பதை பார்ப்பதற்கு மகிழ்ச்சியாக இருக்கின்றது.
This opportunity to meet together and to discuss Krishna consciousness with other devotees and to make plans for spreading it is a very purifying activity. We highly recommend it.
இந்த கிருஷ்ணனுடைய பரப்பக்கூடிய வாய்ப்பாகப்பட்டது பக்தர்களை சந்தித்து அவர்களுடன் கிருஷ்ணனை பேசுவதாகப்பட்ட இந்த வாய்ப்பு மிகவும் உற்சாகம் அளிக்கக்கூடியது. இந்த வாய்ப்பு மிகவும் நல்லதான ஒன்றாகும்.
Everyone can remember how Srila Prabhupada, as a householder, he was publishing Bhakti Godhead and he was working diligently to spread the message of his Guru.
Srila Prabhupada ஒரு கிரகஸ்தராக இருந்து கொண்டு Bhakti Godhead நாளிதழையும் அவர் வெளியாக்கி கொண்டிருந்தார். கிருஷ்ணனை மற்றவர்களுக்கு கொடுப்பதற்காக மிகவும் கஷ்டப்பட்டு உழைத்தார்.
All the followers of Srila Prabhupada can continue to help him with this great mission.
எல்லா Srila Prabhupada தொண்டர்கள் அத்தனை பேரும் இந்த பெரிய கிருஷ்ணனுடைய பரப்பும் தொழிலை முக்கியமாக தொடர்ந்து செய்ய வேண்டும்.
Just as he helped his spiritual master.
அவ்விதமாக நாம் நம்முடைய
can understand the secret of life without being helped by a devotee.
மக்களால் உதவி செய்யாமல் யாராலும் வாழ்க்கையின் ரகசியத்தை புரிந்து கொள்ளவே முடியாது.
And you are all devotees who are aspiring to be devotees, as you have expressed.
இங்கே இருக்கின்ற அனைவரும் பக்தர்கள் அல்லது பக்தர்களாக வரக்கூடிய தன்மையில் இருக்கிறீர்கள்.
Therefore, it's through you that Krishna can reach and save many others.
ஆகவே உங்கள் மூலமாகத்தான் கிருஷ்ணர் பிறருக்கு சென்று அவர்களுடைய வாழ்க்கையை காப்பாற்ற முடியும்.
Don't think that someone else will do it. Every one of you must feel it is your responsibility.
நாம் பிறர் செய்வார் அவர் செய்வார் என்று சொல்லியிருக்கிறார். நம்முடைய ஒவ்வொரு கடமையும் இதுதான்.
Krishna will send people to you, and if you help them, then they will be blessed and you will be blessed.
கிருஷ்ணா உங்களிடம் ஆத்மாக்களை அனுப்புவார். அவர்களுக்கு நீங்கள் இந்த அறிவை கொடுத்திருக்கிறார். கிருஷ்ணர் உங்களுக்கு ஆசீர்வாதம் கொடுக்கிறார். இவ்வாறாக அவர்களுக்கும் ஆசீர்வாதம் கிடைக்கிறது.
But if you don't remember to give them Krishna,
ஆனால் அவர்களுக்கு கிருஷ்ணரை கொடுத்து நீங்கள் ஞாபகம் வைக்கவில்லை என்றால்,
then they will not benefit and you will also not benefit.
ஆகவே அதனால் அவர்களுக்கும் லாபம் இல்லை, நமக்கும் லாபம் இல்லை.
So always remember that this responsibility has been given to every one of you.
ஆகவே இந்த பொறுப்பாகப்பட்டது நான் எல்லோருக்கும் கொடுக்கப்பட்டுள்ளது.
It is Lord Chaitanya's order.
இதுவே சைத்தன்ய மகாபிரபுவின் கட்டளையாகும்.
To accept the Krishna consciousness movement and to distribute it to others.
கிருஷ்ண உணர்வை ஏற்றுக்கொள்வதும் அந்த கிருஷ்ண உணர்வை பிறருக்கு கொடுப்பதும்.
Everywhere.
எல்லா இடத்திலும்.
There is no place that it cannot be distributed.
இந்த எந்த உலகத்தில் ஒரு இடம் கூட இல்லை இந்த கிருஷ்ண உணர்வை பரப்பக்கூடிய கூடாத இடம்.
Somehow Krishna always sends persons who are interested.
எப்பொழுதும் கிருஷ்ணர் எப்படியாவது கிருஷ்ண உணர்வில் ஆர்வமுள்ளவர்களை அனுப்பி வைத்திருக்கிறார்.
Even in the beginning, someone might not be interested, but by Krishna's mercy, they become interested.
ஒரு சமயம் தொடக்க காலத்தில் அவர்கள் அவ்வளவு ஆர்வம் இல்லாமல் இருக்கலாம். ஆனால் கிருஷ்ணன் கருணையால் அவர்களுடைய ஆர்வம் தொடர்ந்தது.
I was just in Moscow for the 25th anniversary of Krishna consciousness in the former Soviet Union.
இந்த மாஸ்கோவில் குரு மகாராஜ் போயிட்டு வந்திருக்கிறாரு. அங்கே அவர்கள்
5,000 devotees assembled in a hall which was about 20 times the size of this.
அங்கே 5000 பக்தர்கள் 20 மடங்கு பெரிய உள்ள இதைவிட பெரிய ஹாலில் கூடியிருந்தார்கள்.
Maybe 15 times. Very big hall.
ஒரு சமயம் 15 ஜனங்க இதோட பெருசாக
With balcony.
மேலே கூட ஆளுநர் உட்காரக்கூடிய வசதிகள் இருக்கிறது.
And they had so many people waiting outside that when they went to take prasadam, the hall always remained full.
நிறைய பேர் வெளியில் காத்து கொண்டிருந்தார்கள். ஆகவே சில மக்களுக்கு வெளியே பிரசாதம் எடுத்து போகும்போது மீண்டும் அந்த ஹால் நிறைந்து விட்டது.
So in that celebration, the secretary who came to Moscow with Prabhupada, he gave his personal history about what happened at that time.
அங்கே மோசாவில் நடந்த அந்த திருவிழாவில் சிலா பிரபுபாதாவுடன் முதலாக ரஷ்யாவுக்கு சென்ற அவருடைய செயலாளர் செக்ரட்டரி எப்படி பிரபுபாதா மோசாவுக்கு சென்றார் என்ற அந்த முதலாவது சரித்திரத்தை எடுத்து வழங்கினார்.
1970 or 71, Prabhupada went there. 1971.
1971 சில பிரபுபாதா ரஷ்யாவுக்கு சென்றார்.
And he was not able to preach because of the communist regime.
அந்த சமயத்தில் கம்யூனிஸ்ட் ஆட்சி இருந்ததனால் சில பிரபுபாதா அங்கே பிரச்சாரம் பப்ளிக்காக பிரச்சாரம் செய்ய முடியாமல் போய்விட்டது.
He talked to some big professors, but he saw they were not going to help him.
சில பெரிய பேராசிரியர்களை கண்டார், ஆனால் அவர்களால் எந்த உதவியும் கிடைக்கவில்லை.
And then two young men came to see him.
அதன் பிறகு 2 இளைஞர்கள் அவரை பார்க்க வந்தார்கள்.
One Indian studying in Moscow and one Russian friend.
ஒருத்தர் வந்து இந்தியன் ஆனால் மாஸ்கோவில் படித்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிறார், மற்றொருவர் வந்து ரஷ்யர்.
And for 3 days Prabhupada preached to them.
3 நாட்களுக்கு பிரபுபாதா அவர்களுக்கு கிருஷ்ணா உணர்வை பற்றி போதனை கொடுத்தார்.
And empowered them so much
அவர்களுக்கு பிரபுபாதா அவர்கள் சக்தி கொடுத்தார்.
that through them he was able to have within the next few years over 10,000 devotees in the former Soviet Union.
அந்த 2 பேர்கள் மூலமாக சில பிரபுபாதா இப்பொழுது 10,000 பக்தர்கள் ரஷ்யாவில் உருவாக்கி இருக்கிறார்.
So we also heard that when Prabhupada came to Malaysia, he was on a very, very tight program, visiting many places, giving many public programs.
சில பிரபுபாதா மலேசியாவில் உதவி கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கிறோம். ஆனால் இது வந்தப்போ அவருக்கு நிறைய நிகழ்ச்சிகள் இருந்தது. ஒவ்வொரு இடமாக சென்று அவர் பிரச்சாரம் செய்து கொண்டிருந்தார்.
It was Prabhupada's desire to see the people in Malaysia from the different races uplifted.
சில பிரபுபாதா மலேசியாவில் இருக்கின்ற பல இன மக்கள் நிச்சயமாக சமய சிந்தனையில் உயர வேண்டும் என்று விரும்பினார்.
So now during his centennial year, everyone and his followers should commit themselves how they are going to help Srila Prabhupada to spread this great message.
ஆகவே இந்த நூற்றாண்டு விழாவான சில பிரபுபாதாவின் நினைவு அதிகாக இங்கு இருக்கின்ற பக்தர்கள் எல்லாரும் எப்படி மலேசியாவில் நாம் மேலும் கிருஷ்ணனுடைய பரப்பதற்கு நம்முடைய ஈடுபாட்டை காட்ட வேண்டும் என்று இப்பொழுது முயற்சி செய்கிறோம்.
And how they are going to be able to perfect their own lives by taking this mercy handed down from Srila Prabhupada.
அதே சமயத்தில் சில பிரபுபாதா நமக்கு கொடுத்திருக்கின்ற அந்த கருணையால எப்படி நாம் நம்முடைய சாதனா நம்முடைய ஆன்மீக வாழ்க்கையை மேலும் வளப்படுத்த வேண்டும் என்றும் சிந்திக்கிறேன்.
After this program, when you come up to offer your respects to Prabhupada and get the blessings of Prabhupada and Jagannath, you can just pray and say how you're going to help Prabhupada or pray for getting the blessing to be able to give this, to practice Krishna consciousness and to give it to others.
ஆகவே இந்த நிகழ்ச்சி பிறகு இங்கே மேலே வந்து சில பிரபுபாதாவிடம் எல்லா பகுதி சுற்றுலாவிடம் ஆசீர்வாதம் பெறும்பொழுது அதே சமயத்தில் சில பிரபுபாதாவிடம் நீங்கள் உங்களுடைய மனதை திறந்து எந்த விதத்தில் நீங்கள் கிருஷ்ண உணர்வை பரப்பதற்கு அவர் எந்த விதத்தில் உங்களுடைய கிருஷ்ண சிந்தனை பெறுவதற்கு என்று அவருடைய ஆசீர்வாதத்தை நீங்கள் கேட்கலாம்.
Prabhupada ki jai, Prabhupada Centennial ki jai, Tilak Indira Jayat Mahamutsav ki jai, Jagannath Dev Subhadra ki jai, Jai Bol Sitanath Manande.
I now humbly request His Holiness their Lordship Jagannath Baladev and Subhadramai. So on behalf of the Telokirtan branch of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, I take this opportunity.
Charanavinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. For short we say A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. He became fearless by taking shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So in this verse it gives us two options. Two people. One is a steadily devoted soul worshipping Lord Krishna, offering the results of all activities to Him. The other is a person who is not connected with Krishna consciousness, who is greedy for getting the fruits of the labor. That person wants to enjoy the fruits of the hard work, puts in his honest labor, wants to get his honest due. What happens? The second person becomes entangled because of the laws of karma, becomes entangled in material duality. And the first person, the devoted person, achieves unadulterated peace. Now, this is what we are hearing from the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. Krishna has no reason not to tell everybody what happened. It's not that Krishna needs us to worship Him. He already has everything. But from a very objective viewpoint, He is telling what is the result. The very nature of the material world is such that everything we do in the material world is creating a reaction, a karma. And that karma is tying us up. So even though we are trying to be happy in the material world, we become more and more entangled in the complexities of the material life. And therefore, in spite of all good efforts, even if we get the fruit that we were hankering for, still we are in fear and lamentation. Now in the modern democracy, we can see, especially like in India recently, there was elections. So there was a change of government, and the government that had been in power for many, many years now is not in power anymore in the center. And immediately the Prime Minister, who was given so much respect, now is under the legal case and has to go to court. So, if this is the most powerful people in a particular country, they are going between, you can see, overnight. 1 minute they're in the VIP lounge, next minute they're in the docket. So what is the hope for anybody else in Kali Yuga? That's why in this world, and especially Kali Yuga, but this is even spoken in Dwapara Yuga, but in Kali Yuga things change so quickly, the karmic reactions change so quickly that it really makes one's head spin. Everything can go perfectly well, and all of a sudden things are in a topsy-turvy and difficulties. Or someone may be in great difficulty, in the midst of that, they're feeling all right. Recently, one scientist did a study. it's sometimes interesting to see what the scientists study. This scientist did a study, who is happy in this material world. Of course, he only studied one kind of person. He studied the person who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, because he had no idea that another kind of person exists. The first kind, who is working with unadulterated devotion to Krishna, is very, very rare. He didn't encounter in his experiment. He only encountered the second kind. He assumes, this is the defect with science, he assumes everybody is like that. If you say that in science that there are only white swans, because every swan you see is white, that's science. You may see 10,000, 10 million swans and you say they're all white. But in Australia, there's a particular lake where there is a black swan. And once the scientists saw the black swan, then the previous theory that swans are all white was immediately thrown out. Now they know swans are white and some are also black. So, but this scientist, of course, he was, in his research, he saw all kinds of people of the second category, rich people, poor people. He saw people in the hospital, people in vacation. So then he did a study. Who is happy? Interesting study. And he found that when a person is working and they're going on vacation, when they're on vacation, some of them feel happy for a while. Once they come back from vacation, so if the vacation was 2 weeks, after about 2 weeks, they're back to wherever they were before. The same thing again. If they're a bitter person, they remain bitter. If they're a pleasant-natured person, well, they keep pleasant nature. More or less, anything temporarily can make a little blurb, but after that, people stay like they were. No big change. Even he found a person who was in the hospital with so many suffering, still, sometimes that person was saying, oh yes, today I'm feeling very good. Little things may make the person feel happy in the midst of so much suffering. So he came to this understanding that happiness is a very relative thing. When a person feels happy, that there's always ups and downs, but then he finally stood the final tally, who is happy, and he came to the conclusion, nobody is happy. As a standard, everybody is suffering, and nobody is happy. But temporarily they may be happy for a while, but after that, again they say, no, I'm not happy, I want this, I want that. Very few, just across the board, he came, overwhelming result, nobody's happy. No happy, he said so his conclusion, we should just accept that this world is a place of suffering, and if we get any happiness, we're very lucky, and just go on, because the normal situation is just suffering. Now, it's interesting, the scientists came to this conclusion, but Krishna, he also already told us this. He said, Dukkhalaya asasutam. This material world is a place of suffering. It's temporary. So even though you're suffering, also the suffering is temporary. After some time, the suffering will be replaced by a little happiness. But overall, the situation is dukkhalaya, place of suffering. But even in the happiness, it won't last, there'll be also suffering. And even in the, he also did study people who won the lottery ticket. A lot of people have been studying people who win lottery tickets, and they find that some of them are less happy after winning than before. Some of the marriages broke up. The husband and wife, they fought so much how to spend the money that they divorced. They couldn't agree. One wanted to spend on a home in this place, no, the other wants a home in that place, one wants an expensive car, one wants this car, like that, whatever. They're fighting and they cannot resolve. So this material world, because of greed, because of attachment, we create a situation which is
intolerable, filled with anxieties, filled with disturbances, suffering. And the illusion is that today in the world, everyone is telling especially in the developing nations, all the rich countries are already still suffering in spite of having more money. But they're telling all the poor countries that when you get rich, then you see this is the real success. You just wait till 2020, or you wait till this year, everyone will become rich, and then everyone will be happy, and there'll be no more problems, right? But even in the rich countries, there's so many problems, so-called rich countries. You don't find it. He did a study in the rich countries, so people aren't happy. The real secret to happiness is given here in the Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter. That is serving the Lord with fixed devotions. That is the way to achieve unadulterated peace. Sure, we may have peace, but we don't call it unadulterated peace. Sometimes, before a storm, there's a little bit of peace, right? Just like someone may have today, a very peaceful day, no problem, right? Then a phone call comes. No, Uncle, Gopal, no, how did that happen? Right? So, there's not unadulterated peace. Unadulterated peace comes from offering all our results to Krishna. Now this 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita is it's not a very long chapter, it's quite a short chapter compared to some of the other chapters. Let's see, how many verses? Not very many verses. Only here, 29 verses. You could easily memorize all the 29. Isn't it? Right? Students here. But every one of these chapters of Bhagavad Gita has got so much potency, so much knowledge. In the Padma Purana, it describes about the glories or Mahatmya of the 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita. That there was a Brahmana, person born in a Brahmana family. He was, however, not a good Brahmana. He was rather interested in music, and he became a national musician. He became, in fact, recognized by the ruler, and he could play at all national functions right in the king's court. So when he was playing the music, he would also charm the ladies, as musicians are even doing today, I think. Some ladies, anyway, not all, but there are some ladies who go after musicians, I think. So in any case, this musician, he became a kind of a debauchee, and he would go with many ladies, and he would cheat on his wife, and his wife became very angry with him. So then she thought that since he's doing, I can also do, and she was cheating on him also. And then he became very angry with her and told her that you cannot leave the house. And she said, this man is rascal number one, and this and that. And so in his sleep, she chopped off his head and chopped his body and threw it in a well somewhere. And she lamented and everything. What might happen? My husband didn't come back, and they never caught her. They didn't know how he died. No trace. So as soon as he died, he was dragged off by the Yamadutas to Yamalok, and there Yamaraj was waiting for him. and had a special program for his rehabilitation where he was burned and turned for all of the sins he had done and the bad karma. Meanwhile, his widow, she got afflicted by various kinds of diseases, and she died in excruciating pain from piles, according to the Shastra. It's very rare. I mean, you don't hear about many people dying from piles, but I guess if that's would be a painful way to go. So anyway, she was also dragged off to Yamalok, and she was also greeted by the Yamadutas and given another special program for her sins, and she was also roasted and toasted. After having a lot of toasted times, burning, of course it's no laughing matter, they were suffering like anything. This is possible, you see, because the subtle body is taken and they torture the subtle body. Subtle body can suffer the pain, but it doesn't get destroyed. It's like, at least this body, if you torture it enough, it dies. But the subtle body doesn't die. It just goes on suffering. I'm sure we've experienced it many times, and we'd like to forget it, and fortunately we've forgotten about it. But anyway, after going through that hell, then he was allowed to take birth again in a vulture's body. Since he was just, apparently that was what the kind of desires he had. He had no interest in spiritual. He went from human being to hell, then to vulture. It's a very big fall down. And his wife, she became a very beautiful parrot. So both of them had become birds. That was the level of desire they had. Everyone gets a body according to their desire. If we have a human body, it means we've desired at least a little bit to want to be spiritually awakened. Human birth is a chance to go back to Krishna. But if we don't awaken our Krishna consciousness, and we just do greedy, vikarmic, bad karmic things, then we can again go back down to the animal kingdom after being roasted and toasted for a while. There's 29 hells mentioned in the 5th canto Bhagavatam. If you ever want to see what kind of vacation program they have, you want to be sure to miss it. You see, we don't normally talk about these things. We talk about, because Krishna consciousness is so positive. It's such a transcendental journey back to home, back to Godhead, that we're not like focused so much on hell. In fact, it's a place that devotees don't need to fear or don't have to seek just by following this process of devotional service. But it does exist, and it is a place that many people are visiting, unfortunately, and we want to help them and save them from having to go there. So in any case, this is all the glories of the 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita. You might be wondering, what does this all have to do with the 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita? The story is not over yet, but let's continue. That musician who died, went to hell, became a vulture. He's flying around in the air looking for dead bodies, like all vultures do. And the parrot is flying around looking for fruits. The vulture sees the parrot and somehow gets a flashback. That was my wife in the previous life, and she murdered me. I'm going to get her now. And he zooms in on her and grabs her with his claws. And then she's screeching, ah, no, whatever, but they have a different, you have to, I'm not a parrot. Take my word for it. She was screaming in parrot language, and she was suffering like anything. And he is like ripping her a little bit, but not fully. He wants her to suffer. And so it's keeping her half dead. He's carrying her around thinking, what can I do to really make her suffer? And he gets a little thirsty and all this, and he sees a nice skeleton and an upside down skull. So he goes over and drinks a little water from the skull. Because inside was rainy day, water was in the skull. Skull, you know what a skull is? The bone of the head, dried up, upside down with the jaw and everything hanging. So he was drinking the water from the skull. There was a hunter. He saw here, this is a big bird and some others. So the hunter shot with the arrow, went right into the heart of the vulture, went through the vulture and also got the parrot. Both died at the same time. They fell into the upside down skull, into the water, and died there. Now you understand the glories of the 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita? The story is not over yet. Then they were taken back again to Yamalok. And then Yamaraj was planning out. His accountants were saying, so which hell should we put them in now? These people never learn. What hell should we put them in? Should we put them in the under Tamisra hell or the Kumbi Pak? He's boiled. Or the creamy bhojana where the worms eat you. I mean, which one we should put, And Yamaraj was just planning out which one to put them in. Then he's looked at them and they're shaking. Oh no, back here again. It's the one place they really didn't want to visit. And then Yamaraj, all glories to him, he said, no, you don't have to go to hell anymore. You're free. So free, but we're really sinners. We've done so much, and they couldn't even believe it. How is it we could be set free? Free means, yes, you're going back to Godhead, back to Vaikuntha. I said, how is that? You remember the skull that you fell into? That skull, the water was there? I said, that was the bones of a great Rishi who was every day, it was a Brahmana, reading the 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita. And simply by reading the 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita, even his bones are so purified that the water in the skull of his bone is so purified that by you dying and touching that water, you're free from all your sins, you can go back to Godhead. Now, if sinners like that fall in the water in a skull of the devotee that read the 5th chapter, think what happens to the devotee that reads the 5th chapter. So the Bhagavad Gita is so purifying. The words coming from the lotus mouth of Lord Krishna himself. We are very, very fortunate to be able to practice Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada has given us His mercy. And by this process of Krishna consciousness, we can attain this unadulterated peace. But what the wonderful thing of Lord Chaitanya is, he's saying that not only should you attain perfection, Janma Shartak Kori Koro Poro Upukar, achieve perfection in your life and then work to give this mercy to others. Throughout the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his advice, his order, was to accept Krishna consciousness and achieve peace and happiness, and to achieve love for Godhead, pure love for Krishna, and also to help to give this to others. That is a special way to please the Lord. So we want to thank everyone for their being so active in Krishna consciousness and helping and working together to see that this message spreads to others. We should remember, because the Lord is everything, and this material world is just a shadow reflection of the eternal spiritual sky. We cannot make a permanent situation here to be happy. So we make the best use of the bad bargain. We do our duties, we offer the results to Krishna. We remain in Krishna consciousness. So by material standards, we're doing our duties, we're going on. But we are not so greedy for the result. When results come, we can thank Krishna, and we use that for keeping our body and soul together, and we also offer the results to Krishna. We eat Krishna prasadam, we worship Krishna in the home, or in the temple, or both. And we understand that there's nothing eternal except for Krishna. The whole material world ultimately just destroys. This body gets destroyed, everything gets destroyed. But the soul, which is part of Krishna, this doesn't get destroyed. Krishna doesn't get destroyed. This is Sanatana Dharma. There's no beginning and there's no end. It always existed. The service to Krishna always exists. It exists now and it will always exist in the future. So if we engage in Krishna's devotional service, then we are on the transcendental platform, the spiritual platform. You see, this is a totally different than worshiping God and saying, God, give me my daily bread. Give me money, give me material peace, give me this, give me that, give me the other thing. Our consciousness is in the material world, and we're praying to God to give us material things. So we are still remaining in the duality. And our relationship with God is only, with Bhagavan, is only just to give us something. But devotional service means that we understand we are eternally meant to serve the Lord. And we use our energy for His pleasure. And whatever material situation He sends us to serve Him in, we accept that, we work under those conditions. With our honest labor, whatever we can do to improve ourselves, we try. But we never forget that our real purpose in life is meant to serve Krishna. That is a real karma yogi. That is a real bhakti yogi. That is the way to achieve peace. That is the way to return to Krishna. So simple things like reading Bhagavad Gita every day, it has such a powerful effect. We find so many people say, I have no time to read. 29 verses, even if they had only read the 5th chapter every day. How long would it take to read it again and again and again? But every chapter of the Gita has also similar great glories. 4th chapter, 10th chapter, 11th, every single chapter. So, of course, we recommend devotees to read all the 18 chapters again and again. Today, because I said anyone who wants to take initiation, unless they're completely illiterate, they should read Bhagavad Gita at least once, and recommend 3 times. Prabhupada said for us to take initiation, we have to read Bhagavad Gita 10 times.
and the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto 3 times. I still have the Bhagavad Gita. I put 1, 2, 3, 4, cross. 1, 2, 3, 4, cross. Like you know the line. So then I finished 10 times. Then I read the Srimad Bhagavatam 3 times. When someone was coming for initiation, they read the Bhagavad Gita 1/2. Actually only 6 chapters. So like that they come and then they practicing for so many years and they're asking for mercy, and we have to consider that they're nice devotees and we should, but why is the problem? Why we don't want to reach? We need to understand these instructions of Lord Krishna for ourselves and also to explain it to others. Main book for preaching is Bhagavad Gita. People don't, or devotees even, especially devotees, this is our life. This is Lord Krishna came here and spoke only this one book, 700 verses. But we don't have time to read. When I hear the glories of Bhagavad Gita and I hear how many grandparents in India were all reading Bhagavad Gita, I think they have got good destinations. But today, the grandchildren, do they read Bhagavad Gita? I met some Indian students a few years ago, and they were proud because they memorized the 2 slokas in the Bhagavad Gita. Jida Jida Hi Dharmasya. There's 2 slokas they memorized. But nowadays, that's also out. Even those 2, they don't know. It was 10 years ago. Now, we have now Bhagavad Gita in Tamil, we have it in Malay, and we have it in Chinese also. And we have it in English. And another 75, 80, 100 languages in the world. So here in Malaysia, everybody can read Bhagavad Gita that knows how to read. Either in Malay or Chinese, or in Tamil or in English. And if you don't know how to read, ask your son or daughter who went to school to read it to you. And that way they'll get some benefit also. Or somehow or another we should spend a little time. This is like bathing in the Ganges. Ganges is coming from the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Bhagavad Gita is coming from his lotus mouth. So it's all transcendental effect on us. So everything is Krishna's energy. Krishna is good. If we use the energy for Krishna, we don't get entangled. Except for the devotee, the whole world is sukhaloya. It's just completely happiness. Everything is an opportunity to serve Krishna. Even in a misfortune, like right now we got the message, you know, probably some of you seen in the paper that in that Grozny of the Chechen Republic of the Russia, there's a war going on. Many people were killed. But the devotees are famous there. They are considered the most the most generous of all the people. They are going and distributing food to all the suffering people over there in our Food for Life program. Old people, nobody who's in war, who feeds old people? Who feeds the sick people? Hare Krishnas are there distributing prasadam. They're famous there. I was just in South Africa, read in Soweto, with a very big black African township, and near Durban also, where the Africans are staying. The Red Cross had the fancy jeep robbed and taken away. It's 5 of them in 1 week. But Hare Krishna truck is going inside by mercy of Krishna, and they don't do any harm. Rather, all the people come up and they just start chanting Hare Krishna and taking the prasadam. They like so much.
Indian gentleman had a Hare Krishna life member, had a sticker in the back of the car. He drove somehow in that area, and the people thought that he was coming with the free food. The Africans were running after his car, chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He got frightened, he thought they were going to rob me. And then when the car finally stopped, they were all chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And he said, well, they're just now coming. So Hare Krishna, even in misfortune, what do we say? We're going to serve people. Not that we want misfortune, let everyone be happy. But if people are suffering, we'll be there to distribute prasadam. We'll be there to give them the message of peace, to give them the message of Krishna. So the devotees, they're not happy. They're paradukkha-dukhi. They're sad to see others' sadness. That's their only sadness, that others are suffering. But for them, everything is an opportunity to serve Krishna. So that should be our attitude. Whatever happens in this life, Jivane Morane, Vipode Sampade, Arpilo Tuapode Nanda Kishore, whether there's happiness and distress, whether there's life or whether there's death. We want to simply serve Krishna always. So you have the choice. You can be greedy for the fruits of your labor and be entangled, or you can engage and offer the results of your activities to Krishna and devotion. So who wants to be entangled in the material world by running after temporary material results? Raise your hand. Who wants to achieve unadulterated peace and transcendental happiness by offering their service to Krishna and devotion? Haribo! 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 Hare Krishna. Thanks to Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Hare
Vishnupada Paramahamsa Kriptacharya Sudhita Sishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Sai Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Kriptacharya Sudhita Sishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Sai Thakur Ki Ananda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sikho Sikhitai Dharmati Jnananda Siya Devi Radha Sivasari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Rughuram Ki Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Nagari Mayapur Dham Ki Mathur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Ki Nandamai Ki Jagannath Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Harinama Sankirtan Ki Harinama Sankirtan Mahajagya Ki Nisai Dosita Matri Hari Hari Bol जय श्री श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की श्रीमद् भागवतम पाठ की जय श्री श्री स्कान गुरु वृंदा की संवेद भक्त वृंदा की all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the Gauranga. Omajnanathmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshushamidram Dena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunnavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Naram Shaivanurotama Deving Saraswatim Vyasa Tato Jayamudiyate Mugakaroti Vachalam Pangurlang Gayate Girim Yatkipatamam Bande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Iti Varna Swadharmena Yajanti Swagurum Harim
Jayanti Sagurum Harim
Sadayatma Visuddhyartham
Sadayama Visuddhyatam
Yachatha Sahavrittibhi
Yachara Saharitiri.
Find grace to the A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. All these different social divisions are born with their occupational duties and living conditions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, for conditional life and self-realization, one has to worship the Supreme Lord under the direction of the spiritual master. Who doesn't know English here? Is there a translation going on? Hands, thighs, legs is meant to render service to the whole body. That is their constitutional position. In subhuman life, animals and other things, the living entities are not conscious of this constitutional position. But in the human form of life, they are supposed to know this through the system of the varnas, the social orders. As above mentioned, the Brahmana is the spiritual master of all the orders of society, and thus Brahminical culture, culminating in the transcendental service of the Lord, is the basic principle for purifying the soul. In conditioned life, the soul is under the impression that he can become the Lord of the universe. And the last point of this misconception is to think oneself the supreme. Someone thinks, I am God. The foolish, conditioned soul does not take into account that the Supreme cannot be conditioned by Maya or illusion. If the Supreme were to become conditioned by illusion, where would be His supremacy? Can't keep up. You have another book for him? There's a thought. We cannot be supreme because we're an illusion. If we were an illusion, that means Maya is supreme. Therefore, the actual position of the conditioned soul is explained in this verse. All the conditioned souls are impure due to contact with the material nature in three modes of material energy in three modes of nature. Therefore, it is necessary that they purify themselves under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, who not only is a Brahmana by qualification, but also must be a Vaishnava. So what is the qualification of a Guru? Must be Vaishnava and Brahmana. The only self-purifying process mentioned herein is to worship the Lord under the recognized method, under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master. That is the natural way of purification, and no other method is recommended as bona fide. The other methods of purification may be helpful to come to this stage of life, but ultimately, finally, one has to come to the last point before he attains actual perfection. What is the last point? What is the last point of purification? Devotional service to Krishna. That is the last point. Bahunam janamanam ante gyanavan man prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. Om Tat Sat. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta Swami translation purport, text 34, chapter 6, canto 3. So in the previous verses it discussed about the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras. The Brahmanas are coming from the mouth of the Lord. They are the natural teachers and spiritual masters of all the orders of society. Then there are the Kshatriyas coming from the heart. Their duty is to protect society from thieves and miscreants. Kshatra means protection. Then there are the Vaishyas. They're coming from the abdomen of the Lord. Their duty is to produce grains and to see for the economic distribution. And finally, service. All kinds of service is manifested from the legs of the personality of Godhead, for the sake of perfecting religious function. Actually, this is the Sudras. The Sudras are therefore blessed by the Lord because we know that the lotus feet of the Lord are the special shelter of the Lord. Prabhupada explains, it's better to be a Sudra than to be a Brahmana and not develop the service attitude. Because the service attitude alone